And there's also like singular moments. I think you've spoken about this, which like Jon Stewart going on Stephen Colbert and talking about the lab leak theory.
Yes.
There's certain moments that just kind of shake everybody up. The right person, the right time, it's a wake up call.
So that there, and I will tell you, like, and I should say, Jon Stewart attacked me recently, so I'm not that thrilled about him. But I would say I was a long run fan of Jon Stewart. I watched probably every episode of The Daily Show when he was on it, for probably 20 years. But he did a very important public service, and it was that appearance on the Colbert Show. And I don't know how broadly this is, at the time it was in the news briefly, but I don't know if people remember this, but I will tell you, in the rooms where people discuss what is misinformation and these policies, that was a very big moment. That was probably actually the key catalyzing moment. And I think he exhibited, I would say, conspicuous bravery and had a big impact with that. What for people who don't recall what he did, and this was in the full blown, like you absolutely must lock down for 2 years. You absolutely must keep all the schools closed. You absolutely must have everybody work from home. You absolutely must wear a mask, like the whole thing. And one of those was you absolutely must believe that COVID was completely natural. You must believe that. And not believing that means you're a fascist Nazi Trump supporter, mega evil QAnon person, right? And that was like uniform. And that was enforced by the social media companies. And like I said, that was the peak. And Jon Stewart went on the Colbert Show. And I don't know if they planned it or not, because Colbert looked shocked. I don't know how much of it was a bit, but he went on there and he just had one of these, like, the emperor is wearing no clothes things, where he said it's just not plausible that you had the COVID supervirus appear 300 yards down the street from the Wuhan Institute of lethal coronaviruses. Like, it's just not plausible that certainly that you could just rule that out. And then there was another key moment, actually, the more serious version was, I think the author Nicholson Baker wrote a big piece for New York Magazine. And Nicholson Baker is like one of our great novelist writers of our time. And he wrote the piece and he did the complete undressing of it. And that was the first, I think that was the first legit, there had been like renegade, there had been, people running around saying this, but getting censored all over the place. That was the first one that was like in the mainstream press, where he talked to all the heretics and he just like laid the whole thing out. And that was a moment. And I remember, let's say, a board meeting at one of these companies after that, where basically, everybody looked around the table and was like, all right, like, I guess we don't need to censor that anymore. And, and then of course, what immediately follows from that is, well, wait a minute, why were we censoring that in the first place? And okay, like, and then, the downstream, not that day, but the downstream conversations were like, okay, if we made such a giant, in retrospect, if we all made such a giant collective mistake censoring that, then what does that say about the rest of our regime? And I think that was the thread in the sweater that started to unravel it.
I should say it again. I do think that the Jon Stewart appearance and the statement he made was a courageous act.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think we need to have more of that in the world.